The collect and the readings appointed for this Sunday talk a lot about external threats and about the dangers of the world, attacks on the flesh, and looking to God for reliance on protection and knowing that we are always within God's comfort. And our hymns, of course, and anthems will all reflect that theme of fleeing to God for safety and for protection, always knowing that we have those loving arms to run into. The music will also have a little bit of a, if not a folk quality, at least something more of a populist feel rather than very sophisticated composed music, say. The opening hymn as we walk in is "Kind Maker of the World, O hear the fervent prayer," and it is set in our hymnal with a French Noel. So of course this tune was originally a Christmas carol, but it has a nice dancing modal quality to it that really allows this Lenten prayer to sort of carry us into the service with a little bit of a pep in our step. So that tune actually comes way back at the very end of the 15th century, about 1495, and was very popular all through the French Baroque. Many Baroque composers in France set that tune, and you can hear it in several different guises, but it works really well here as a sprightly Lenten prayer. At the communion, the choir will be singing a setting of "Just As I Am," which most of us associate sort of with tent revivals or Billy Graham, but is a really interesting text that dates back to the early Victorian era. There was a whole repertoire of hymns that were written by invalids in the 1820s and 1830s, and this text by Charlotte Elliott was one of those. She compiled a hymnal that had around 120 or 130 hymns, half of which she had written. And that's where this hymn, "Just As I Am," first appeared. So if you think about it in the context of someone who couldn't get out in society, who really was ostracized, and think about the text, it really sheds new light on these very, very familiar words. The setting that the choir will be singing is new music. It's not the tune that we associate with these words, by the American composer Benjamin Hutto. Ben Hutto was a native of South Carolina. He grew up in the Charleston area and worked in Beaufort, South Carolina, as well as Charlotte, before eventually moving to the National Cathedral, where he was the director of the girls' school choir. And he wrote this tune that really sounds like it could have been an early American folk tune, kind of a shape note hymn tune. And he sets it in some very dark ways with just the tenors and basses, just the sopranos and altos, very thick chords before having the full choir come together. Very interesting setting of these words. And again, it harkens back to sort of an early American kind of folk tune. And speaking of that, at the offertory, if we backtrack just a bit, the choir will also be singing a setting of "What Wondrous Love Is This?" And this tune and text come from they really do come from the American folk hymn tradition and our tradition of shape note singing. And for those of you who maybe have heard that term and don't know exactly what that means, this image will show you some shape note hymnody, and it shows you the original way that "What Wondrous Love" would have appeared. And this type of hymnody was really popular in Kentucky and Southern Virginia. Lynchburg, Virginia is one of the sources where we have "What Wondrous Love Is This" appearing in print. And the different shapes were allowing folks who couldn't read music to know how to know which scale degree you were on. So you didn't have to read the 5-line staff. You could just look for the different shapes, the triangles and squares and circles. The setting that we will be singing, that the choir will be singing, is an arrangement by the American choral conductor Robert Shaw and his associate, the composer Alice Parker. And it's a very rollicking setting of these very familiar words in this beloved tune. So we have a lot of really great, sturdy American kinds of hymns and prayers to match the Lenten readings that we have. We hope that you will join us in worship this Sunday at St. John's Cathedral.